Okay, so I will be talking about the French Renaissance at this time. Renaissance is a French word which literally means rebirth. And during this time, it was after the 100 Years' War, which caused a lot of oppression during to many people. Also, the Dark Ages, which kind of buried all of the literature, artwork, and all of the sciences that were known. And so the Renaissance was kind of this time for a fresh start, for a rebirth. One of the kings that reigned during this time, which was Francois Ier. He lived in Château d'Amboise and the Château Senisceau. He loved to hunt, so he used many of the forests around his castles to hunt at this time. But most importantly, he had bought one of the most famous art pieces by Leonardo da Vinci, which was the Mona Lisa. Another artist that lived during this time was Michelangelo. He sculpted a lot of beautiful sculptures that can be seen to this day, such as the David. Then on, music was also a new era for many people. Guillaume Dufay was a composer who came from the Burgundy section or faction. Faction. He composed a lot of music that was just barely known to this time. It was the Franco-Flemish, which is just basically this putting words and music together to make it sound like something. Before it was just either music or it was just singing, but now it was just together making music. The organ, the recorder, and the viola came out during this time to help along with many of the music. Guillaume also made many poetry that was just newly known. It wasn't known before, and it kind of started this new trend for many of the Renaissance music artists and composers that were to come for the rest of the Renaissance. And the Renaissance happened from the 14th century to the early 17th century.
So, the Louisiana territory was like taken over by the French, so they could create new France in the 1640s to 1803. Oh no, 18. Oh God, I don't remember the date, but it was like somewhere between those times. Anyways, the French settled there because they found the land to be big, and so they needed and since they were settling towards new areas, they found like a perfect place. And this was before Bonaparte was there too. And anyways, the French sold the territory to America because of the secret treaty of something. It was a treaty, so they just bought it. Yeah.
So I'm gonna talk about the French Revolution. The French Revolution was the largest revolution in the world, and this revolution was inspired by the American Revolution. On July 14, 1789, the French took Bastille as president, which showed a symbol as an authority. On August 26, on the same year, they voted as the Bill of Rights, and 3 years later, the French have abolished monarchy and the Institute of Democratic. And their main motto during this time period was liberty, equality, and fraternity. And the French also divided departments and the metric system, Louis XVI, who was part of like in the French Revolution, people always see him as a weak leader, and during this time period, there was like a document was written called like the Declaration of Man and Citizens, and this document was talking about the rights of that everyone should deserve. So that's all.
Louis says came into power because his grandfather died, and he inherited a government full of debt and also a society which was they were chaotic, and there was a lot going on during that time. Because of that, there came the political agenda, and the political agenda was signed by Louis XVI, but he was very reluctant in signing it, and with the political agenda being signed, the Reformation started. During this time, it was during the late 1700s, there was a lot of things going on with the society and the government, because he was married to Marie Antoinette. And Marie Antoinette, although she had no political power or political authority, she was seen as the wife, but she wasn't seen as a good wife because first he was the first king from France. Louis says to not have a mistress because Marie Antoinette felt like she can play both the mistress and the wife. She was also going out to the opera, and she was going to expensive fashion shows and had a very expensive budget, which the people did not like because she was living in luxury and they were barely being able to eat. Her only job was to create a male heir, and she had 4 kids, but both of her boys died, and she had 2 girls. During this time, all of the society and everything they were very angry at the king and very angry what was happening. So they were going to escape to Austria, which was said to be one of Marie Antoinette's lovers, but they were caught and they had to return. And in the returning, they were found. First, Louis XVI was found guilty of treason, and he was executed by guillotine, where they cut their heads off. And Marie Antoinette was widowed. After her being widowed, she was also found guilty of treason, and she was also executed. Both her daughters were taken away, and she was found guilty of sexual abuse to one of her children. During this time, before they were executed, the French monarchy, the French Assembly, I think it was, they took out the French monarchy, and they inserted a new political system, power system. Yeah.
So my topic is on the French Revolution. The impact on the French Revolution. So the impact the French Revolution had on French citizens was that it gave them their basic rights, such as freedom of expression and religion, and everyone's innocent until proven guilty. The French Revolution also got rid of France's monarchy for a democracy. It separated church from France politically and got rid of the wealth of the church and the aristocrats. It also had a great impact on Europe because at the time of the revolution, most of Europe, most European countries had a monarchy, and France had just got rid of that for democracy. So it kind of the revolution other European countries started having their own revolution and getting rid of their monarchies for democracy. Is that a movie? And
Do you feel like?
yeah, France got some.
So I'm talking about Napoleon Bonaparte, who was the Emperor of France in the early 1800s. He was born in 1769 and was married to his wife Josephine, which was his first wife, and he was her second husband. Her first husband was guillotined during the Reign of Terror, and she was imprisoned after that. Together they ruled over France for about 11 years. Napoleon led several successful campaigns during the French Revolution, and he gave France this massive power that they hadn't had before.
That's it.
Jose, hey man.
Yeah.
So Napoleon III ruled France from 1852 to 1870. In the beginning, he was very conservative, but as time progressed, he began to change his policies. So he was open to more foreign affairs such as England, and he gave the legislature more freedom to carry out decisions. In the mid-1850s, he finally decided to reconstruct Paris, and with that, people saw like a great change in society. He developed parks, and created more jobs, and he also made neat boulevards with fine housing, and his main goal was to just create stability amongst his people, and he really wanted to develop the ideal utopian society. And at the end of it all, he ended up investing a total of 2.5 billion francs into the city.
It's done and you